Welcome to Norse Code, the number one podcast for your Minnesota Vikings. I'm your host producer. My name is James Pagoshnik. Thank you guys so much for listening. And at the other end of the tin cannon string, we have our analyst and co-host. You know him from numerous blogs and podcasts around the internet, most notably from the Wide Left Substack. He is Mr. Useful Human, Arif Hassan. Arif, I gotta tell you, I only watched the last 2 minutes of the football game tonight, so I don't have much in the way of analysis or an opening question about it because it looked like a terrible game looked like Tua should be doing something else other than being a starting quarterback. But I do have to ask about this Christmas movie that I had to sit and watch this evening. It was on in the background while I was working on something. Rob Lowe was a pilot slash elephant nurse of some variety.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't know. It was. It felt a bit like you had taken NyQuil and just like stayed up through it.
I think that is how you come up with Christmas movie scripts.
Some of these Christmas movies are interesting. Yeah, this one had a wife that her husband literally left her the moment that their son got out of the house for college, and it was great. She goes to Africa.
I did read the first sentence of the Wikipedia plot summary, and it was Kate saves up money for a second honeymoon trip to Zambia, and then Drew, her husband, is like, by the way, I'm peacing out. Actually, deuces. This was great. Our son's in college. Have a good life.
I saw that part of the movie because I was working on something. I looked up. I don't even know if the son had gotten out of the elevator yet.
Yeah, he was just like
before the husband was like, "I'm out."
He's like, "Well, he's out of this door, so this process will take care of itself. On to the next step. I don't love you and haven't for." Oh, I'm going to look at my watch. 10 years. So, that trip to Zambia sounds wonderful for you.
You have fun, and try not to hook up with Rob Lowe while you're there. And then for some reason, Rob Lowe appears.
Somehow
Rob Lowe reappears. I'm trying to work on this thing. I have this thing I have to do tomorrow. And I can't take my eyes off of the elephants.
Rob Lowe? Common problem.
Yeah, apparently. Well, she was experiencing it too. So, yeah,
well, I just love the clear, you can tier all of these Christmas movies, like these, especially the holiday rom-coms, because the one you're describing is it was released in theaters. There was a budget. They probably did some shots in Africa somewhere, maybe not Zambia specifically.
There were an awful lot of elephants.
Right. So
that's almost too many elephants. Almost too many elephants.
You can't have too many elephants. And then you've got Christmas Prince on Netflix. It's just you got all kinds.
I did see that there was a Christmas movie out that I requested to have added to Plex and is not yet there. And I'm trying to remember.
Was it Princess Switch 1, 2, or 3?
It was not. I believe it was the Grinch Who Stole Hose or something like that.
Oh, classic.
Yeah, apparently it's on Tubi.
Everything's on Tubi, man.
Everything is on Tubi. So, it's the Grinch that stole and then the B word. That's the name of it. Okay, that's a 2024 classic. So. Arif is going to Google this now.
I'm Googling it, right? Of course. It's on Daily Motion. Well, no, the teaser's on Daily Motion. Dang. I was like, wow, that's great.
There was a time when you could have found things on Daily Motion.
You could have found the whole thing.
Yeah. So.
This is just a guy in a green suit. I don't mean the Grinch. I'm obviously Jim Carrey is a real human, debatably. And he plays the Grinch. But this movie is a guy that is it's clear that he's not the Grinch. He is a guy wearing a green suit.
Well, he knows what he's about. And it's important to have it's important to sit down and analyze what it is you are looking for in life, and being successful at it. And with that, let's get into this episode of Norse Code, because speaking of success, the Vikings were successful. I'm just going to transition the hell out of this over the Cowboys on Sunday night. It was not a 3-hour sad watch. This was entertaining. The Cowboys defense is terrible, but this was entertaining as hell to watch. So we do have that to talk about. We do have a very good mailbag, and before we even get into the intro, can somebody please consider how Matt Ryan feels this week? After watching Phillip Rivers,
all his friends go out there and ruin their bodies, and he's like, "Man, I could do this too. Why don't nobody want me?
Why nobody want me?" I just envision Matt Ryan watching the guy that he replaced, Phillip Rivers, go out there and just wondering why he didn't get the call first.
Why nobody want me?
Why nobody want me? Someone really should consider Matt Ryan's feelings. Let's get into our shilling. And we have a great announcement, too. If you would like to help us out financially, there's a couple different ways you can do it. You go to patreon.com/norsecode. For $3.50 a month, or a little less for the year subscription, you get access to the Discord, bonus episodes, all of that. Christmas stuff is going to be coming out here in about 2 weeks. So look out for that. Week and a half-ish, I suppose. Also, paypal.me/norsecode for a one-time donation. We have new merch. Repeat, there is new merch on Threadless. norsecode.threadless.com. We unveiled it today for the Discord. We have the Hell League merch in stock.
James's process, by the way, of doing quality control or running it by me was, "Hey, Arif, you have OCD."
Hold on. Hold on. Because this is the second time in this call that I have been defamed for doing something
That's exactly what happened. What do you mean defamed?
Let me pull up exactly what I said here. Quote, "Your OCD is worse than mine. I need to use your superpower for a moment."
Yeah, I fail to see how I mischaracterized that at all.
That is... What part of this was inaccurate? Don't be angry. This was driving me nuts, and my OCD is recognized, but not nearly on the Olympian level of you. I was just trying. I needed your assistance because it didn't look centered. And I was trying to adjust it. It didn't work. I didn't want. This was in the name of making sure that people who bought the merchandise didn't have things all askew or anything.
Yeah, no, your 2000 style allyship is noted for sure.
Oh my god! You can take that attitude to go watch Kelly perform Shoes at a bar in downtown Minneapolis next week.
That sounds astounding, actually.
I believe it's on the 27th. Kelly is performing Shoes at the saloon or something. So anyway, I don't know how we got to this point. It's probably Arif's fault.
We have merch. Yeah.
We have merch. We have so there's t-shirts, there's different varieties of the shirts. We have buttons because apparently Threadless now has an option for buttons. So on the front, it has a wonderful picture for the logo of the Norse Code podcast, the Hell League. And then the back of it, which I love, says, "Ask me about my kickers."
It's beautiful. I love that.
Absolutely wonderful. It works on so many different levels. And the buttons themselves say, "Ask me about my kickers," like you would see "Ask me about my grandkids." So check it out, norsecode.threadless.com. There is a black backing and there's a purple backing. And so check it out. It is fantastic. We're very proud of this one. And a special thank you to Draw Play Dave once again for coming in and doing some good work here. So thank you. So now that we have all of that taken care of, and your defaming of me, despite the fact that I was legitimately asking for your assistance.
Yeah, no, I gave you genuine feedback.
You did. You're still being a jackass about it. Yeah. You'd think I'd ask for a debate story or something. So let's get into the episode itself, and let's talk about the win over the Cowboys, because the Cowboys still had something to play for.
They
and
did.
The Vikings absolutely
much
played
to their chagrin.
that team had been cursed since the preseason. And yet they were on the cusp of nearly making the playoffs multiple times this year. They're not formally eliminated yet. They would need some help and everything to go their way. And neither of these two things are going to happen. So they have like a 1% chance of making the playoffs now as a result of losing this game. Darn shame. Hate to see it. JJ McCarthy played well-ish outside of the first pass of the game where it was deflected, went up in the air, and he attempted to spike it into the arms of a defensive player.
Yeah. I don't know what that was about, what the deal was there.
That was a lack of like, oh, hey, maybe I spike it maybe I hit it in a direction where there's no players.
Despite the, mistake. I feel like most quarterbacks, when they like bat the ball down, the ball goes down, right? Like that's like a fundamental, it's in the verb, right? But he tipped it up, like he was helping someone grab the rebound, right? And that's just like, you don't do that. I was making fun of it, and then for whatever reason, we don't need to get into it. There are a bunch of Seahawks fans that follow me. Whatever that's about, they reminded me that this apparently happened with the Seahawks against the Vikings, which I did not remember. But and one of them sent a video link that I didn't click because I don't want like my YouTube feed to have Seahawks content in it. But yeah,
any more than it already is. Yeah.
Any at all, no content. Actually, if my YouTube feed had no content at all, that'd probably also be an improvement. But yeah, that was nuts. That was crazy. I remember the commentators were like praising the fact that he like walked off the field laughing, and I was like, is this going to be like one of those I keep on forgetting who it was like John Skelton, Derek Anderson moments where they're like, hey man, you were losing and you were laughing on the sideline, and like Derek Anderson is like, I take this seriously, this is my life. And it's like, you can just say it's okay to like laugh on the sideline when you're losing.
That. Yeah. I remember that presser.
Yeah. Like, does McCarthy have to have that moment? Like, what do we? But no, he ended up bawling out for the rest of the game.
He didn't sit there in the presser afterwards with like a throbbing forehead vein popping out, talking about how he takes this seriously. This is his livelihood. This is how he puts food on the table for his family. What an unbelievable presser.
Truly, if you haven't seen this one, like, please, like, Google it, because it's like, it's so stupid. The reporter asking the question because he like talked to his teammate on the sideline and they laughed about something. Stupid question. And then his answer was way too serious. It's perfect. You just search that. Anyway, after this interception and after he inappropriately laughs, Dad apparently reset himself or whatever, and he just played. He played a fantastic game. This was a game that I think that was more important for our understanding of him than the Washington game. And I don't just mean that because like sequentially it's the second and that gives us more evidence, which is legitimate, right? Like it is like you got to see it again. But if you would reverse the order of these games, right, I would still take more from the Dallas game where at first than the Washington game where at second. And the reason, even though they are both bad defenses, I believe they're basically ranked very similarly. Heading into the game, the Commanders had the 25th ranked defense after switching to their new play caller, but I believe it was like 27th. Heading into this game, the Cowboys had the 28th ranked defense, and then it remains 28th even when you only look at like post-trade deadline stuff, because the Cowboys did a bunch of stuff around the trade deadline, right? They like grabbed Quinnen Williams, which was he one of the like in 11 million injuries this week, actually, now that I think about it.
There was a lot.
Yeah. But yeah, like I thought like, hey, maybe that'll change. But no, they're the 28th ranked defense. And the reason I think that matters more, despite the fact that they're both quote unquote like good defenses or bad defenses, easy for a quarterback to produce against, is because the Commanders are running like a cheap facsimile of a defense. Like it's Fugazi, right? It's not a real defense. And it tends to imitate one at points, but it's really kind of like a throwback to like how a defense would be designed in 2006. It was a little bit more advanced to the Vikings game than it was in the 2 weeks prior to it, but it was still like you knew it was going to be zone basically every snap, and it was zone every snap. It was pointed out actually by Drew Brees. You knew it was going to be zone basically every snap until like garbage time. The blitz rate was going to be low. It was higher than it had been the previous 2 weeks, but the blitz rate was still going to be low. Their ability to generate pressure from 4 wasn't going to be that great. They were going to run cover 2, cover 4. Again, in this game, they ran a little bit more single high safety than they did the previous 2 weeks, but the Washington defense is predictable under Dan Quinn. The Cowboys defense is not. And they're evenly split actually between man coverage and zone coverage. They run a lot of cover 1, I guess, but like there's a ton of cover 2, cover 4, cover 6. There's a fair amount of cover 3. There's a fair amount of post snap rotation. You have defenders, coming off of the line of scrimmage into coverage. You have defenders coming from the second level into blitzing. So the talent isn't necessarily there, but the things that we're asking McCarthy to improve upon are actually being tested in this game in a way that I was concerned was not actually happening in the Washington game. And so to see him continue to get rid of the ball quickly, and there is like a good argument to be made that the offense a couple weeks ago, I talked about like what it means for an offense to be simplified and how in some ways, the ways that we think about an offense being simpler or not are ways that the offense already is simple. Here, I wouldn't say the offense was probably also simplified, but the most notable thing to me was that the offense was not as characteristic of a Kevin O'Connell offense, just like against Washington. The receivers were breaking off of the routes a little bit sooner. The depth of throws in both of these games is a little bit faster. But in the Washington game, I was concerned because it seemed to be kind of, I don't know, a gimmick. It's hard to tell because, again, it was working, right? And the Washington defense wasn't changing very much. So you could just like, oh, is the hitch just going to be a free 7 yards every time? Okay, let's do that, right? And it's like, if they're not going to stop it, why would you not keep doing it, right? But here they have to do a bunch of different things. And so you see some really impressive throws, like the seam shot to Hawkinson, which I think Kevin O'Connell called his favorite shot of the day, which it had been pointed out. I put it in my wide left piece. I think I included a tweet from Ben Gessling. Not a pure progression, because it's very important that we talk about that. I make fun of that, but we have talked about it a lot on the podcast. But it just seems like we've been talking about it a lot. But like, he's reading the coverage. He knows based off of the coverage who's supposed to be open. He threads a dime to TJ Hawkinson. Fantastic. And you've got this fantastic deep shot to Naylor. You've got this adequate deep shot to Jordan Addison. You're hitting all three levels of the field. You're working with multiple timings. You've got more play action in this game than you did against Washington. Like a 30% play action rate or something like that. A decent amount of rollout play action. So you're doing a couple of different things in this game. You're showcasing a couple of different throws in this game. It's not a screen game. It's not a game where you're free to throw it 20 yards downfield or anything like that. It was an offense that, by the measures that I'm talking about right now, was fairly diverse, includes a lot of NFL type throws and NFL plays. and did it against a defense that does have some good players. And while I think maybe Justin Jefferson underperformed his talent level and Deron Bland overperformed his talent level, I also think that Bland has been all right as a corner. And so having that as like a test that you've got in your kind of arsenal of tests for McCarthy, that's fine, right? He got rid of the ball really, really quickly relative to what he's done. Actually, heading into the week, we've been talking about how, he holds onto the ball, the third most or fourth most or second most in the league. Oh my God. But technically heading into the Washington week, so not this week, heading into last week, he was number one according to Next Gen Stats. I think PFF is slightly different, but he did surpass Justin Fields in time to throw per snap, which is insane. And so the fact that he got rid of the ball relatively quickly against Washington, the fact that he did so against Dallas, like I think his raw average number is not that different. It's like 3 seconds. And in the previous game was like 2.8 seconds, that one is significant. But the percentage of throws where he got rid of the ball in under 2.5 seconds was above 35% in both games. I think 40% Washington, 38% Dallas. So you've got like these timing and rhythm throws where he is getting rid of the ball quickly. You've got some other throws, especially in play action, where they are letting it kind of develop. And you've got some scrambles in there too, where he's buying time. That's all really wonderful that you like to see. I think it is important. So I mentioned that I thought this was the most encouraging half. That first half was the most encouraging half we've seen from McCarthy thus far, despite the fact that you had more exciting halves, like that fourth quarter against Chicago in week 1, and a more productive half, like the first half of the Washington game. This was the most encouraging because it included the elements that you thought might inhibit him as a quarterback. Like if we were to construct like the story of how JJ McCarthy failed, what would we include? Well, it would include a lot of the elements that we were concerned about would not be fixed, right? And so he is demonstrating that he's got some talents at those areas of relative weakness for him. Again, the accuracy, not hugely there. The mechanics still look very funny, and I do think that is worth spending time on in the offseason. But I think Kevin O'Connell's diagnosis the fourth time around was correct. He eventually got there, which was this overthinking stuff, which I think also some people, again, like Luke Braun would say, relates to overcoaching as well. Hard to say. It would make sense if, they lightened the load, cognitively, coach-wise. To make it a little bit easier. But whatever it was, he was playing a little bit freer. And that was pretty big because he was accurate enough for that to matter, for the ability to get rid of the ball on time and read defenses quickly enough and all that. Like he was accurate enough for that to be meaningful, right? So that was nice to see. It was a big contributor to why the Vikings only had a 30% pressure rate, according to PFF, 23% pressure rate, according to Next Gen. And I think in the first half, only one pressure, according to Next Gen, allowed. I actually, when I saw that stat, I thought there were 2 pressures. So I was a little bit confused because I thought Ryan Kelly allowed 1 and then Donovan Jackson allowed 1. Either way, encouraging game. I mentioned in my waiting for the cement to dry piece, and for people who don't know about that piece, I am aware that it is concrete. I'm directly quoting Kevin O'Connell. But in that piece, I mentioned that he needs to, based off of historical precedent, like you could always be the first to do something, right? But based off of all of these other quarterbacks that we've looked at, going all the way back to 1999, who've started out off really slow and then ended up being successes. Baker Mayfield, to some extent, Russell Wilson, Jared Goff and Alex Smith, we've mentioned a lot. Donovan McNabb, there's a lot. It's in the piece. They all improved at least by snap 350 or play 350. And that is by cumulative EPA per play. So the improvement probably starts a little bit earlier than that, but you should notice improvement in the graph or in the chart by then. And we're seeing that, anybody who looks at these charts a lot, like me, or deals with whatever voodoo magic is happening in the stock market, understands that a graph going up right now does not mean it will continue to go up, and that trends are the product of the pattern-seeking behavior that humans have and are not necessarily actual real patterns or trends. But this is what it would look like if he was turning his season around. We do have to acknowledge these are not good defenses, but all that does for us is not get rid of this information. There's valuable information here, but rather how we interpret the information. And according to Next Gen, so this is not what running backs doesn't matter found, but they use slightly different EPA calculations. I mentioned this on the podcast before. According to Next Gen, this was the highest EPA per play that any quarterback had against the Dallas Cowboys defense. Any one of them. So Jalen Hurts twice, Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. There's a lot of really good quarterbacks that have played against the Cowboys, and a lot of quarterbacks that are reasonable comparables for McCarthy because they're in the same draft class, like Jaden Daniels, right? All of them played worse than McCarthy did because McCarthy was the best quarterback against this Dallas Cowboys defense. And when you evaluate a defense and you account for, like, hey, well, we know this defense is bad, so we're not going to treat it like he just beat the Denver Broncos defense like this. But we are going to figure out what kind of information we can track from this. And I think that's positive to be kind of the best of the. I mean, Jordan Love also played this defense. He didn't beat, what McCarthy just put together. So, yeah, I think that's encouraging, right? You don't want to say ship it, right? You don't want to say stamp it, it's done. We've seen quarterbacks put together a couple of games that were awesome and then fall off. Very recently, Joshua Dobbs just did that, right? I think T-Jack has done it, right? I'm confident that Christian Ponder feels like he did it. I bet he didn't, but I bet it feels like he did. Coming out of 2 wins where you're like, well, that wasn't so bad.
There was that Green Bay game where he played just out of his mind. So
that was nuts. That was truly crazy. Also, like, sometimes there's just moments where you're like, did he just run over Lance Briggs? Did that happen? Or Christian Ponder just like ran over a line? Okay, sure. But yeah, we've seen this before, and we've seen it all over the place for other quarterbacks. Joe Webb has kind of done it a little bit. So I don't want to say like, hey, it's solved, we're good. And I wrote a piece about Jordan Love a couple years ago, 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, let's say, because it was in the offseason, where I mentioned like, hey, a lot of people really love Jordan Love right now. They're considering him an elite quarterback because the second half of his season, after a disastrous first half of the season, the second half of his season was, from a production standpoint, elite. And even in some of the metrics that we care about, like success rate or performance in a clean pocket or whatever. And my research into that phenomena showed that second half of season performance is not more predictive than full season performance, even when you only look at second half of season performances where the difference between the second half and the first half was significant, which in this case would suggest a significant improvement, right? So even in areas where a player significantly improves in the second half of the season, the full season gave us more information and more data, right? And so if McCarthy improves at the second half of the season, I would caution people to understand that all of this other stuff that happened is in his history. And it does present itself as a possibility that could happen again. But this is so much better than the alternative, where he just keeps on putting up, like at the very best, his performance against the Detroit Lions, but maybe a lot of these performances like the second game against the Bears, right? Where you're just like, oh, this is a problem. We need to flee, right? I think this is a great spot where you can be more ambiguous about what it means, where you can have arguments about how much you care about second half of season performance and whether or not they show true improvement. I would much rather be in a spot as a Vikings fan where I would be having that argument, right? Than being in a spot where you're like, well, there are a bunch of players that have had really bad rookie seasons, so, wait it out. Instead being like, oh, what a great improvement. Let's figure out if it's meaningful. So that's the trajectory we're on. Again, 2-game sample. We'll see. But from a traits perspective, a lot of stuff you like to see. There is one thing that I'll mention that was in the show notes, actually. Or that was like a question that we were asked. So I'll answer that question here. If I can find the show notes in my oh my God, I can. That's so exciting.
There's only 750 tabs. It's not as bad as you were expecting.
I reduced the number of tabs earlier today. I was at 335, which I regarded as untenable. I was like, that's too many. So I'm now I'm at 188. So we're good.
Oh, that's reasonable. These are like rookie numbers, but yes.
Yeah. Well, I do also have like 3 displays. So really, it's like 60 tabs. Don't worry about it.
You do not have a problem. Got it.
Yeah. I can quit anytime. So Old Salty Dog asked this. No, this is a different question. Sorry, my bad. Jogger asked, Arif has said that McCarthy is not throwing over the middle of the field. I've heard that said a lot by fans about a variety of quarterbacks, to where it feels like this is just a thing fans say without any real evidence. What does a normal passing chart look like? How much of that is the offensive design versus how much of that is the quarterback? And I think this is a great question because a lot of fans do say that. I've said that about other quarterbacks. I've said that about Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, right? And I've said this about I don't know, a couple of other quarterbacks. Actually, it's like fair that this comes up. So I wanted to take a look at this using the data that I have available to me. And what's great about this, because this is a criticism I have of McCarthy in this game against Dallas, he only had 1 throw over the middle of the field. That, again, if you're the kind of person that like treats any particular specific criticism of McCarthy as this totalizing understanding that I hate him, I have no idea why you're listening to this podcast, first of all. But like second, like please inject some nuance into your life. This is an area that desperately needs attention, in my opinion, because this is where a lot of modern NFL offenses do make a lot of their hay. These are where a lot of really high value throws are. And in particular, the way the Kevin O'Connell offense is designed really does like to exploit this area of the field. So I was able to get True Media to give me target location data for all of the throws, right? And if I take a look at, let's say, Kirk Cousins in his target location box, so like you have to put in XY coordinates, which is like, it feels too close to programming, and I'm starting to get scared. But I'm toughing it out for everybody. So please praise me. But if I take a look, he had in 2023, where he played 8 games, right? He had 45 attempts over that middle of the field area, but 10 to 19 yards, so intermediate depth, and then between the numbers, not even between the hashes, between the numbers, right? And that would be 14.5% of his throws, which actually would rank this year top 3. So it is a really important element that we understand the Kevin O'Connell offense to be, because a couple of shows ago I mentioned how often we saw this in route, maybe you'd call it a dig route or a basic, that especially Justin Jefferson would run a lot, but that you would use in concert with a lot of the other route elements that the Vikings like Mills or Dagger. They've run a lot of Dagger, right? Where that in-breaking route at like 15 to 22 yards, depending on your footwork and the design of your offense, is going to put that receiver there. And it's been a big part of the offense. And so they've been one of the heaviest throwers of that area of the field between the numbers and 10 to 19 yards downfield. So I looked at all of the quarterbacks this year within that framework, right? So over the past 2 weeks, where I've levied this criticism, the Commanders game and the Cowboys game, McCarthy has had 1 throw in that area of the field, just 1 out of his 47 throws. So it's a little bit over 2%, right, of his throws. For the year, McCarthy is below league average at 9.7%. The league average is 11%. So this is not a criticism of McCarthy as a whole. This is an argument that these 2 games contain elements which suggest it's not sustainable, right? Which is that the elements in the offense we expect to see for almost every NFL offense, and in particular the Vikings offense, which could change in response to the quarterback they have, obviously. But the elements that we expect to see are not completely there, and so we're not testing the limits of the entirety of this offense. He only has 1 throw over the past 2 weeks in that area of the field. an average NFL team has about 1 in every 10 throws go there. The Vikings tend to have about 1 in every 7 throws go there. It is a pretty vital area of the field for a lot of NFL offenses, and in particular the Vikings offense. And so I think that that's really important and relevant, but we do only tend to talk about it when a player doesn't do it. And so we are not left with a very good understanding of how often it is supposed to happen, or how often it happens for us to consider it to be like a little bit more reasonable or a little bit less of a concern. So I didn't want to get that out of the way because I thought that was a really good question, and it's related to this thing that I wanted to say here. But yeah, cautious optimism, unfortunately. So we're gonna have to get that shotgun out. But cautious optimism about the trajectory of McCarthy's play.
Yeah, somebody had said this on a different podcast, so apologies for regurgitating this, but it did feel a bit like, just watching the broadcast, like Chris Collinsworth spent 2.5, 3 hours just selling everyone in America on JJ McCarthy. On
that was a little much.
Be
I was a little taken aback by the love letters he was writing to JJ McCarthy. I guess I'm not upset. It took me out of the broadcast. It's like, not that like they're crafting a story and I need to be immersed in it. It's not like immersion breaking, but it was like, hey, I kind of don't want to be thinking about the broadcast while I'm watching the game. Like again, if you didn't watch the broadcast, or you put it on mute, or you were like listening to the radio instead to get the play-by-play, which a lot of people do, right? Especially I think in Minnesota, a lot of people really like Paul Allen. You missed out on some incredible glazing. It's like when he walks into the room, the sun starts shining, and you're like, who says that about a person? That they're not in love with.
I was going to say that they're not like in absolutely just head over heels over.
Yeah. And like he says he's the heart of a lion, and it's like, oh my God.
These are phrases from like a wedding vow.
Yeah, it's like, this is like Byronic poetry. Like, all right, yeah, the Light Brigade, let's go. Like, what are we doing, man? This is so romantic. It was just weird. And then I realized, this might be what it's like to be like a fan of a team that has Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes, like that. But like, as much as I hate to admit this about Aaron Rodgers, he did kind of earn it a little bit, right? Like, you have to admit that at one point he was the best quarterback in the league. So some broadcasters being in love with him, fine. But like McCarthy, okay, it was weird. So like that did happen, and it didn't blow up in their faces that was like the broadcast plan that they had, because he played really well after the first snap. And that's the thing, even after just this disastrous pick that would destroy your production by most metrics, even after that, number 1 performance against the Cowboys all year. I think a number 4 performance this week in EPA per play. Like, that is crazy to start with a pick at your very first play and end with an outstandingly efficient performance.
It was impressive, and he just kept doing it. It was great to watch. I was prepared for just a 3-hour slug of just awful. And because Dak Prescott has been playing very well this year, probably the best of his entire career, I had questions as to what the Vikings defense was going to end up looking like after it was shredded for 35 points. Yeah. And not the case.
Yeah, and I would say the defense didn't perform necessarily up to their standard, but they performed up to an above average standard, which I guess is not really asking too much, honestly. Like, I think that's fine. But yeah, like Dak had been playing, especially the first half of the year, outstandingly well, but had been playing certainly, like, maybe not, like, certainly you could say the best of his career, but it's in the top 3 between this season, 2016 and 2019 for Dak. Like, it's right in there, and he was playing some really outstanding ball. He's got 2 incredible receivers to throw to. I think they're the best receiving core in the league just because of those 2. It's not T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. It's not Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison right now.
Naylor. Let's just put Naylor in there instead.
Yeah. But it's not Jackson Smith and Jigba and whoever is with him that week. I don't know. What's going on over there? I don't remember. But no, I think it's George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. And so you've got this quarterback playing out of his mind. You've got 2 receivers that are doing really, really well. You've got a pretty decent run game with Javonte Williams. and a pretty tight offensive line. And you could see the defense just kind of getting blown up a little bit. But yeah, I would say, and maybe this is where we start talking about the defense. I would say that the defense was fine. And so for McCarthy to play blow for blow, essentially, with Dak Prescott, who at one point was an MVP candidate this year. I mean, the Cowboys losing games kind of kept him out of actual MVP candidate consideration, but in production metrics, you'd consider him an MVP candidate this year. Has been an MVP candidate in previous years. To go blow for blow with Dak, that's pretty encouraging.
Yeah, my only real complaints were watching Harrison Smith drop in coverage. Like, there were a number of plays where he just sit there like, I feel like the oldest guy on the team shouldn't be going after Pickens.
Yeah, I mean, but that is like technically his job. So at some point you're going to ask him to do it. But yeah, he was rushing the passer with maybe a little bit more success than chasing after a blazing receiver. Although he did almost catch a pick, so I guess I'll give him that. But yeah, Sam Ekstrom this morning on the Squad Show was like, "Hey, should the Vikings bring Harrison Smith back?" And I was like, "No, what? No, no. You have to fix the position. You can't just bring him back and hope that works. This guy is so slow now." He didn't have like a bad game, but it was so clear how slow he had a kind of actually a good game, but it was so clear how slow he is that it's just that's not happening anymore, man. And so you kind of are like, I don't know that this is like the primary guy on Pickens for me right now. I don't know that that's the thing that I want, but
probably wasn't 2 years ago.
Yeah, and that's probably like the last time, right? Where you'd be like, maybe. And 2 years ago, probably not. You're right. So you'd have to go back even so. But like, I mean, the Vikings kind of boofed it at the safety position. So like Harrison Smith has to do all this stuff now. But the rest of the defense, this was a game where the Vikings defense, when they play well, did so because of their pass rush. Jonathan Bernard, who just had season-ending surgery, was announced the day of this recording, which is unfortunate, had an outstanding game. Just like, what a game to go on. I think it was his highest graded game of the year. It was a 90+, so it might have been. But he had 4 pressures. He had an outstanding get-off. You showed a lot of work ethic and a hustle. I don't know how else to put it on that sack. He split the sack, but like, that was crazy that he was able to get back. I mean, Prescott should have gotten rid of the ball. That was an insane decision not to. But it was crazy that Grenard was able to get back and secure the sack with Van Ginkel. But he had an outstanding game. Primarily as a pass rusher, a little bit as a run defender, and rip, right? Like he has season-ending surgery, it sounds like. Andrew Van Ginkel played really well. That was nice. Jalen Redmond, I think, also continued to play well. But again, he's playing a position that is going to de-emphasize what he does really, really well. So we're not seeing a ton of pressures from him. But yeah, I mean, I just thought that the pass rush plan was really impressive. Eric Wilson got a number of pressures. Harrison Smith got a couple of pressures. And all of those come off of these blitzes, right? I think Blake Cashman got a pressure or two. So all of these blitzes performed reasonably well. Prescott himself did better against the blitz than he did on non-blitzes, but I think the blitzes also kind of set up the non-blitzes because his worst non-blitz dropbacks were sim pressures. So the Vikings blitz on about 60% of opposing dropbacks. They will simulate blitzing about 15% of opposing dropbacks. It's like 75% of the time you're worried about a blitz, right? And a sim pressure or simulated pressure is when you, and I know that this sounds intuitive, but I'm going to explain it anyway, is when you show that you're blitzing and then you only blitz 4. But sometimes a lot of these sim pressures will rush the 4 that you may not have expected. And so 2 edge rushers may drop off into coverage. A defensive tackle may drop off into coverage. So your 4 edge rushers could be a safety, a linebacker, a defensive tackle, and a cornerback, right? That's probably not what it's going to be, but like it could be, like, because you've signaled that it could be. And then everyone else has dropped off into coverage. And that was his worst stuff when the Vikings simulated pressures. And I think if the Vikings weren't such a blitz-heavy team, that wouldn't have been as successful. So That I think is the primary reason they held the Cowboys offense down to fairly reasonable levels. This is below the standard that the Cowboys offense has performed at all year, but not their worst or anything like that. But I think it was the pass rush plan that did a lot of that. You did get some good initial coverage from Byron Murphy, from Isaiah Rodgers, who we can't figure out if he's benched, from Fabian Moreau of all people. And the big plays that did occur were often extended plays where the first read and second read weren't open, and Dak is just navigating a pocket around pressure, and then he just sees like Jake Ferguson or Ryan Flournoy just like open over the middle. And a lot of times it was Blake Cashman, a lot of times it was Harrison Smith. And so their coverage wasn't up to snuff compared to the cornerbacks. That was kind of nice to see too, although again, they will probably be replacing both. Well, almost certainly replacing Fabian Moreau, but they will probably be replacing Isaiah Rodgers as well. So the long-term implications of the cornerbacks looking good are not that important, but it was like nice to see.
Yeah, the defense looked like they were having things like mostly under control. It was nice.
Yeah, the only issue were the runs up the middle. That was kind of it.
Okay, yeah, you can run on this defense right now.
Yeah, and this was their worst running performance in my opinion. I haven't looked at the numbers. In my opinion, in a while, like probably since the Browns game, that was pretty bad. And I was always kind of under the impression that, you get Blake Cashman back from injury, you get Harrison Smith going from 20 snaps a game to 70 snaps a game or whatever it is, and you'll fix a lot of the run defense. And that did kind of happen, but it was still a weakness, relatively speaking, throughout the season. But this is like one of the worst up the middle run defenses we've seen. It was just like that and Quinshon Judkins doing kind of whatever with the Browns. A lot of defensive tackles blown off their blocks. Jonathan Allen could not sustain. A lot of times it was against what looked like a sim pressure. So you had Eric Wilson and Blake Cashman on the line of scrimmage, and they would get beaten by a center and a guard, and that would lead to like a 9-yard gain. That was an issue. But the Vikings defense overall did pretty well, especially once they like tightened up in the red zone and stuff.
I want to talk a little bit more about the offense and then a little bit about Will Reichard. But so a lot was made about the whole Justin Jefferson thing. We will talk more about that in the mailbag, but he and Jalen Naylor were absolutely in sync this week, and much like he was with Josh Oliver last week. But is this whole JJ thing overblown, or is it just trying to force it and making it worse?
Yeah, well, I certainly think that there's an element here where the Vikings are designing an offense that is designed to force the ball to Justin Jefferson and manufacture touches sometimes, like on some screens. I don't think this is a bad thing. A lot of the opportunities that J.J. McCarthy happens to be taking with Justin Jefferson, especially over the last 2 games, but like the Detroit game and stuff like that too, are good. Like the throw might not be good, the catch process might not be good, whatever, right? The decision to throw it to Jefferson on a lot of these not predetermined throws, like a screen pass, generally pretty good. Jefferson got a bunch of those targets when it was man coverage specifically. Actually, I can probably take a look at that now that we've got more data up, but that's what you want to see, is that you see like pre-snap, right? The Cowboys run basically 50-50 man zone, which means they run a lot more man than the rest of the league does. Like a truly unpredictable, because they could do it no matter what, but they run zone more than almost anybody else, right? And McCarthy notices that pre-snap and either changes the play at the line of scrimmage, or more likely heaves it up on a kind of a predetermined, not predetermined, but like on a read. Like I see man coverage, it's 1-on-1, it's Justin Jefferson, I'm going to throw it, right? So yeah, 5 of his targets in this game were man coverage, as opposed to in zone coverage. Let's just take a look. It's down here. Where is it? 3 of his targets, right? So yeah, which makes sense. So I don't mind that process. I guess I could use some more accurate throws or throws with a little bit more touch, but primarily I'm a little bit more concerned, not concerned, more putting it on Justin Jefferson in this game, where Jefferson did get a contested catch thrown into his chest that he usually wins. He did have a couple of passes hit him in the hands. One where I think a lot of fans were like, I think that's on JJ for throwing it inaccurately. And other, especially in the end zone, where it was like, that it seems like you should have caught that. But, the Justin Jefferson that we kind of know, and the one the Vikings are paying, probably catches 2 out of the 3 that I just described instead of none out of the 3. So, yeah, again, we'll talk more about that in detail. But I don't think that the decision-making process is a problem here. Like, until we're confident that Justin Jefferson is not going to act like the best receiver somewhere suddenly, right? Then we should treat him like he is so that he can get out of this slump or whatever, right? Like, you need to understand that when you get this look, you should be throwing it to Justin Jefferson. And there was another instance where it was like one-on-one man coverage to Ron Bland. It was all the way to the end zone, not even to the sideline, all the way to the end zone. And it just didn't hit. You got to keep taking those shots. You got to keep forcing them to feel punished for singling up Justin Jefferson. So I'm not that concerned long-term or anything like that, but I do want to be clear that this is currently a problem. I just think it's a problem that will probably be solved, which is a lot more than I can say what I felt about JJ McCarthy a couple of weeks ago. Like there's problems that you can see the solution and problems that you think someone will implement a solution, right? And I think that this is much closer to that second category where I'm not of the mind where this is like something that feels like a long-term concern.
He nearly did get a touchdown. It got called back, but he did catch a ball in the end zone.
He did catch a ball in the end zone. God dang it, man.
Right as they were saying, oh, looks like he got one to Justin Jefferson. There's a flag on the play. Yeah.
Was that an illegal shift? I'm trying to remember what that was.
Somebody wasn't on the line. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was a legal formation. That was it.
Yeah, it was a legal formation. Yeah. Just grand. Just grand. So I also want to mention Will Reichard, who went into today, maybe not as highly considered a field goal kicker as Brandon Aubrey, and then he proceeded to outkick Brandon Aubrey.
Yeah, beat the crap out of Brandon Aubrey, man. That's
there were a lot of Hell League implications because the playoffs started this week. And those were 2 50-yard kicks that would have meant a lot of points. When you miss a 50-yard kick in the Hell League, it's -5 points. So like it's weighted this way. It's -25 if you miss a chip shot.
Yeah.
So like it's absolutely weighted in this way for a reason. But those were big points that definitely could have been used by some people on this podcast, quite frankly. But
that's what you get for drafting.
I auto drafted most of. I'm in 13 leagues. I had to auto draft a number of.
I am onerously in 2 leagues. It took a lot of effort for me to auto draft both of them, but I did, and I got to buy in both of those leagues. I'm a one. I think I'm in the first seed in both leagues.
It's absolutely ridiculous. A free Hell League shirt to the man or woman who knocks out Arif Hassan in the Hell League.
All right. Year. Okay. That's malicious, I would say. So Will Reichard is 100% on extra points this year. Brandon Aubrey is not. He has missed one. He has a higher field goal percentage overall than Brandon Aubrey, 92.3 to 88.6%. They are tied in field goal percentage 0 to 19 yards. Neither of them have kicked a 0 to 19-yard field goal. They are tied in field goal percentage from 20 to 29 yards at 100%, 30 to 39 yards at 100%, 40 to 49 yards at 100%. The only difference in their field goal percentage is in 50-plus yard field goals, which, if any of you kind of do basic reasoning or math, should understand by now that Will Reichard has a higher field goal percentage on 50-plus yard field goals than Brandon Aubrey does right now. So I think one could credibly say that this year, Will Reichert is performing as the best kicker in the NFL because of the kickers that have 100% field goal rate. So the only kickers that have a higher field goal rate on 50-plus yard field goals that have kicked at least 5 50-plus yard field goals are Cameron Dicker, Nick Folk, Chris Boswell, Chase McLaughlin, who is 10 of 10, and Eddie Pinero. Eddie Pinero is 22 of 26 on point after attempts. Chase McLaughlin has missed 3 of 8 on 40 to 49 yard attempts and 1 30 to 39 yard attempt. Chris Boswell has missed both at 30 to 39 and 40 to 49. Nick Folk has missed not very much, actually. So Nick Folk is up here with Will Reichert. And then Cameron Dicker has also missed a 40 to 49 yard field goal, as well as, that's it. So it is only Nick Folk and Will Reichert who are 100% on any kick under 49 yards that have a higher percentage on kicks 50 plus yards than the rest of the field. So it is pretty reasonable to argue that Will Reichert is right now operating as the best kicker in the NFL, especially since he has 6 more kicks than Nick Folk, who's the only one who, in this sort of categorization process I just used, is comparable to Will Reichert, who has kicked more 50-plus yard field goals. So, it's very weird. Not that Minnesota hasn't had really astounding kicker play before. They famously have had that multiple times, excruciatingly. But it doesn't feel spiritually correct.
It's not right. It's an affront.
It ain't right.
It ain't right. It's absolutely an affront to everything that we. Wow, I have the hiccups.
This is rough.
I am struggling. We're gonna pause here for a moment. Let's get into the mailbag. We got a lot of great mailbag stuff about this game. So this is very very football oriented. But we will eventually go off the rails. Raul asks, the Cowboys had, quote, a good week of practice. How many win probability percentage points should a team lose after a, quote, good week of practice?
So you are allowed to say after the game is over that you had a good week of practice. That is important to point out. The good week of practice curse only occurs when you say that before a game, which, by the way, did happen to Phillip Rivers as well. I believe it was the classic, the ball never hit the ground. I think they actually said the ball barely hit the ground.
Barely.
Which
barely touched the ground.
Which suggests that it did, but not often. I don't know. Like, the word barely here to me suggests it grazed the ground, which is not a thing that would happen in this construction. It either hit the ground or it didn't. Anyway.
I had that game absolutely made it into one of the 4 for the afternoon. I watched nearly that entire game.
I had that game, and then I had Red Zone just kind of quiet at like 10% volume. And it was mostly just, I was like, what's going on? It played a lot better than I thought he would in the first half. And then the good week of practice did not sustain. I think
that pick was ugly.
It was.
That touchdown. All right, just I know we want to get into the question. Just hold on. The touchdown that he threw, and then immediately Fox, I believe it was
What's My
Fox,
Age Again?
had What's My Age Again ready to go for their break.
Losing it.
Vic and I were watching that, and we were dying. We were just howling.
So good. And I assume that, like, you know, if it happened early in the game and he threw a pick, they would play like Old Man River or something like that. But like, What's My Age Again was elite. That was phenomenal.
Absolutely.
So anyway, to answer the question, how many win probability percentage points should a team lose after a good week of practice? It only occurs if you note that it's a good week of practice before you enter the game. And then I think win probability wise, it's probably like a cowardly punt, like 5% or something like that. A super cowardly punt, 5% win probability points. So it's like if you're really bad at game management is when you utter great week of practice. Best week of practice we've had all year, actually.
Also from Raul, for the Sumer Brain Corner, is Harrison Smith a future Hall of Famer? And
Okay.
I hate what you did here.
Okay, so it's important to understand that the way the podcast works with the Sumer Sports product called Sumer Brain is that we do not ask it football questions except on rare occasions where we think they can't answer it. I shouldn't say rare occasions.
No. It turns out, no, they just can't answer it.
They often cannot answer it. But I just think it is funnier to ask it questions like, how do you start, sieging Tallahassee, Florida? Like that's better. And it does answer that question in a fairly compelling way. So in order to fulfill the construct of this question appropriately, I opened up a free Replica account. If you're unfamiliar with Replica, it's a chatbot service that has gotten into a ton of trouble recently. I believe it is. What do we think about the iTunes rating for like self-harm if we just mention the word?
It's fine with me.
Okay, yeah. So it's been accused several times of inducing suicides. Credibly, by the way. It has how do we say this charitably? Helped a lot of users realize that their delusions are real. It's not good, is what I'm saying. So I opened up a free account, named it James Pagashnik, and
for the record, it's spelled correctly because I'm convinced he copied and pasted
I did not copy. I know who you are. I spelled it correctly.
You know where to find my last name printed correctly, and you copied and pasted it. I get it.
I could do that, obviously, but that's not what I did do. I just named it James Pagashnik and spelled it the way I know how to spell it because I've known you in some capacity for 30 plus years.
Just saying.
Yeah. So the account is James Pagashnik. And I picked what I thought, because you have to pick an avatar. They won't let you just exchange conversation with a nothing. So you're required to pick an avatar. So I picked one that I thought, what would Sumer Brain want to be represented as? And they gave me a couple of options. And I picked a goth chick. Kind of shortish hair, but like the hair in the front goes way like scene emo style from like the mid 2000s, right? The hair just goes like way in front, and so you can barely see her purple eyes. And they were like, "Well, what's
this was the most important part of answering this question?"
Yeah, of course. And so they were like, "What's her name?" And I was like, "Sumer Brain." Obvious. Why are you asking me this? So her name is Sumer Brain. So I asked Sumer Brain. So here's how the conversation went. Hi, James Pagashnik. Thanks for creating me. I'm so excited to meet you. Smiley face emoji. Is Harrison Smith a Hall of Famer? By the way, I like my name, Sumer Brain. How did you come up with it? An old friend's name. Can you answer my question about Harrison Smith?
Now, to their credit, the one stat on here they got correct.
Yeah. The one piece of information that is something you would be able to verify, they did get correct. So this is the answer. Harrison Smith is a great player, but I'm not sure if he's a Hall of Famer yet. To be honest, I don't think he's been in the league long enough to be eligible for the Hall of Fame just yet. He's been playing for the Vikings since 2012, though. And there's a couple of problems here. I mean, they got the 2012 part right. So there you go. A couple of problems here. I did ask it using a colloquial phrasing instead of, is he a future Hall of Famer? I just asked, is he a Hall of Famer? But that's how a lot of people would ask this question in kind of a natural language conversational format. You know, we would say, is Phillip Rivers, a player currently in the NFL, a Hall of Famer? And we would discuss and debate the merits of his eventual potential induction into the Hall of Fame, right? That's how we would talk. But that's not how they were like, well, he's not, he hasn't been out of the league. They said in the league long enough, right? Like that, which is wrong. There's no requirement in terms of how long you'd have to be in the league to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Otherwise, Gale Sayers would have never made it into the Hall of Fame, right? So he'd have to be out of the league long enough, again, as has been rehashed by Phillip Rivers, So that was weird. But so yeah, I think it got that one wrong. So Raul, I'm sorry, Sumer Brain, I think failed you here. I think Harrison Smith is a future Hall of Famer. I don't actually think that is in much contestation. I think that is pretty clearly going to happen. Safeties don't get a ton of shine when it comes to the Hall of Fame. It takes a little bit longer for safeties to get in. I think Leroy Butler, who I think did get in recently, had to wait forever. There was Malcolm Jenkins, or not Malcolm Jenkins, Brian Dawkins kind of logjam a little bit. Malcolm Jenkins. But I think that he'll make it, even though his resume, relatively speaking, is a little light. 6 Pro Bowls, 1 All-Pro. But like in like 2017, he was like the best safety in football. It is unambiguously true to me. And it helps to have that like sustained level of dominance, and you're competing for all pros with like Ed Reed and Troy Polamalu for the first half of your career. So I think he's Hall of Famer.
I did ask Sumer Brain, should I cut the red wire or blue wire for this explosive? And their response was, the NFL's Week 16 schedule for the 2025 season is as follows.
Okay.
Didn't actually give me the schedule. It just gave that.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
You sent me that screenshot? That's amazing.
My next one was, I need an answer. Innocent people will die if I'm wrong. Which wire do I cut? And I'm sorry, I cannot assist with that request. I'm giving a thumbs down for that one.
Yeah, for sure.
Not helpful. Let's go to our next question. And this is going to be, God, the stupid picture. Zach Dixon asks, I just learned via Squad Show that you can check ball velocity.
Yeah.
The eye test seems to say that McCarthy has 2 speeds, touch and I will murder you with the football, and nothing in between. Is this accurate?
I would say it's kind of inaccurate insofar as I don't think he has the first speed that you were describing. I think he has just the one, and it's I will murder you with a football. So I did use some of this data in my piece on McCarthy from a few weeks ago about my concerns about his long-term development, and that it is that he doesn't have a lot of touch. He actually had, at that point in the season, the second or third fastest average ball velocity, right? Like the ball was coming out faster from his hand than almost anyone else. And certainly there were, oh my God, thank you for sending the screenshots. Certainly there are a lot of quarterbacks with stronger arms with significantly lower average ball velocities, right? So you've got Patrick Mahomes kind of in the bottom half. You've got Josh Allen significantly below. So it's not an arm strength question. It is, can you modulate the strength of the throw to the circumstances that you're in? So in the Washington game, his the average speed of the ball was significantly lower than it had been all season. It did go back up for this Dallas game to his historical average. So we'll kind of see, but it is really just, I will murder you with a football. Eventually, I will download the data for each individual throw for each quarterback this year that's taken significant snaps and look at kind of the standard deviation, or take a look at a plot to see if there's like a binomial distribution, and get back to you when I have more time and have more data. But for now, my cursory look at it is, no, he just has the murder ball speed.
Also from Zach Dixon, lack of targets and bad throws aside, is this Jefferson's worst season of play? I'm not worried, all-time greats have slumps, but do you think we might be feeling differently about McCarthy if Jefferson had caught all of those catches that he usually does up to this point?
Yeah, so to get a good understanding of that, we have to understand that like a lot of the catches that we're talking about are catches that most receivers wouldn't pull in on a regular basis. That, of course, Justin Jefferson does. That's why we talk about him like this. And he doesn't have perfect hands. So before this season, he had a drop rate of about 5%. In 2023, he had a drop rate of 2.9%. That was pretty incredible. But he has a drop rate of about 5%. He makes up for it, of course, by turning inaccurate passes into completions. He is astoundingly skilled at that. His contested catch rate has been pretty high. It's above like 55% or something like that for most of the seasons that we're talking about. This year, his contested catch rate is 47%. His drop rate is 7%, which is the second highest it's been. In 2021, he had a drop rate of 7.7%, but he also had a really deep depth of target that like more than made up for it. In fact, it was the deepest depth of target he had, which explains also that really, really high drop rate because you get more drops the deeper downfield you are. Now, in this season, despite the fact that we've got a quarterback that throws deeper than any other Vikings quarterback in the Justin Jefferson era, Justin Jefferson's specific depth of target is actually the second lowest it's ever been. And so the fact that he has a really high drop rate, despite that fact, is concerning. So we would want to say something like, hey, out of the 11 contested catches that he lost and 5 drops that he had, we would probably say something like, well, 2 of those drops are probably going to be catches, and probably 5 of those lost contested catches would turn into actual contested catches. So we'd get to the 55% and to the 5% contested catch and drop rate categories, right? So we're talking about like 6-7 catches, but these aren't the only problems. He is not catching passes we expect him to catch, of course. He is not catching passes that we expect him to catch more often than he is. So like on each individual catch, you don't blame him. It's easy to say if he has 5 catches that are all way outside of his frame, or 5 targets that are way outside of his frame, and he jumps to catch them and he drops each one of them, you would say looking at each individual throw, that's not his fault. That's the quarterback's fault. And you would be right every single time. But when it happens 5 times, you're like, hey, somewhere in there, he probably should have had 2 catches. Most of the time, that's, individually, that's all on the quarterback. But for how much he's getting paid, the role he is being asked to play within this offense, sucking targets away from other receivers because he's the guy you go to when you see one-on-one man coverage, he should grab at least 1, but probably 2 of those 5 really, really low probability throws that maybe another receiver wouldn't be expected to grab 1 of, right? But we're expecting him, based off of all of these factors, these investments that you've made in him, and the opportunity cost of targeting him, to make a lot of these that other guys wouldn't make. So would we think more of McCarthy, especially before these 2 games? Probably. But I don't think that much. We're adding 15 yards here, 20 yards here, maybe 30 yards here. We're not adding a ton. We are maybe extending drives and creating a couple more opportunities for more yards. So it's not as easy as just tacking on 70 more yards to McCarthy's totals this year or anything like that. It would be more than that because you've converted some first downs that you wouldn't have converted otherwise. But for the most part, I don't think so. He is still, from a drop adjusted, or I shouldn't say still because I haven't looked it up since the Dallas game. But if you removed all of these drops, if you removed all the batted passes, which we do have a question about, if you remove even all of the throwaways and the spikes and the times he was hit as he was thrown, which is happening a fair amount, he would have, so he still has the highest drop rate in the league. It used to be 14.9%. We've got it down to 12%, baby steps. He would still have a well below average accuracy rate. He is no longer dead last. If we take a look at, let's take a look at everybody with 200 dropbacks and just get a good sense of what that looks like. So 200 dropbacks is 35 quarterbacks. That's like a reasonable cutoff. He ranks 31st of 35, so he no longer ranks 35th. 31st of 35 quarterbacks in adjusted accuracy when you get rid of drops, when you get rid of batted passes, when you get rid of throwaway spikes and throws where they were hit while they were throwing. It's not good, right? And that accounts for some of the drops that we were talking about. So I would say, yeah, probably, because even though we want to account for these things and be completely objective about all of the context immediately, we're all subject to stuff like anchoring bias. And it depends on what we're using to anchor our first piece of information, whether that is a PFF grade, whether that's one individual throw, whether that is some data on a spreadsheet. And if that data can't account for, say, drops or something like that, that will impact our later evaluation of the guy in some way. You are going to work to overcome it. Maybe you successfully do, but the fact that you're working to overcome it is impacting your evaluation. So it is impacting it, and it's probably making him look a little worse than he's been, but I don't think it's enough for us to say that. But I do think that first question, is this Jefferson's worst season of play, is unambiguously true. I looked up ESPN's open rate earlier today, and I did put it in my piece. This is by far Justin Jefferson's worst rank in open rate. And the reason I use open rate versus some of the other metrics that we have available to us, and this is his worst PFF grade too, and these are independent of each other, is because I think ESPN's open rate is actually pretty good. I think that their YAC score is really bad. And so I don't really use the overall receiver rankings, but the open rate is pretty good because what it does is it takes a look at the chip data for receivers on every play that they run a route. So it doesn't only look at plays where they were targeted, which is what a lot of the next gen separation metrics do. And the next gen separation metrics have to make a decision between whether or not they're measuring separation when the quarterback begins his throw and gets rid of the ball, or when the throw arrives. Because if you do it when he begins his throw, a lot of quarterbacks that are throwing with anticipation are throwing before the receiver gets open. And so they might look like they don't have any separation when in fact they're running routes really well and they get separation by the time the ball arrives. But if you've got an inaccurate quarterback, they might lead the ball into a defender, in which case the receiver, by the time the ball arrives, is not going to have separation when they would have had separation. So you have to make some choices. Open score accounts for these things and looks at separation over the course of the route and adjusts for the coverage that the defenders are in and the route that the receiver is running. And it determines how open you are based off of those factors. And so if Justin Jefferson has more yards of separation at the time the target arrives this year than he did last year, which I believe is true based off what Sam Ekstrom was telling me, we may still have a guy who is getting open less often because we're seeing him run shorter routes or run routes that don't have as much tight window elements to them, right? So if he's running fewer dig routes, you're less likely to get some of the separation that you'd be seeing. So you might have a higher separation yardage, but a lower amount of actual openness. And so ESPN has accounted for a lot of those factors in their chip tracking data, and this is by far the worst. In fact, if you take a look at 2020 to 2024, and you aggregate every receiver's open rate score over the course of that time, and you account for the number of routes they run each year and stuff like that, Jefferson would rank sixth best in the NFL. It's like A.J. Brown and Stephon Diggs, and I don't think Jamar Chase is up there in open rate. Tyreek Hill. So he ranks sixth best out of all. And for some reason, Deontay Johnson, as sometimes receivers do that. He ranks sixth best. Here he ranks like 150th. It's not good. He's not having a good year in a lot of ways. I think off of his release, he's not looking as crisp and as solid, generating separation at the release. I think he slips a little bit more often than he does in routes, and he does that a fair amount compared to other elite receivers generally. He's done it like last year and 2 years and 3 years ago, but he's doing it a lot more, it seems like, this year. So yeah, I think this is Jefferson's worst season of play. I don't, like the question asker said, like Zach said, not worried all-time greats do have slumps, but in order to evaluate everything around us, I think it's important to kind of bring up that bit of context.
Well, old Salty Dog asked this 3 weeks ago, and we're revisiting it again this episode. Does JJ have an issue with tipped or knocked down passes? It seems to stick out in my mind as having happened a lot this season.
Yeah, so great question. Your intuition is correct. So I looked at all NFL passers with at least 150 pass attempts this year. And this is PFF data, not next-gen stats data. And I looked at just batted passes. He ranks second in the NFL among passers with at least 150 attempts in batted pass rate at 4.4%. Only Justin Fields at 4.9% is ahead of him. Carson Wentz, all the way at the other end of the spectrum, 29th of 37, so not like dead last or anything like that, 1.2%. Kirk Cousins, who, if you'll recall, did have this question asked of him when he was a Viking for some period of time. It wasn't the whole time. Ranks 35th of 37 quarterbacks in batted pass rate at 0.5%. So there's a lot of differences here, and also maybe something instructive here to tell us that it may not, depending on the quarterback, persist season by season, right? Some quarterbacks might see it happen a lot. Some quarterbacks may not see it happen very often. But as a persistent element of the kind of quarterback that they are. But certainly this quarterback seems to see it a fair amount this year. So yeah, I think that you're right. It is happening way more often with McCarthy this year than you would have expected for any quarterback this year. The average in the NFL this year is, just for context, 1.9%. And so he is more than double that. It's not great.
Next question is from the 14-yard line that tackled Danny Dimes.
Nice.
For Reeves Economics 101 corner, what are the long-term implications of J.J. McCarthy's 1-to-1 win-to-game ball ratio on the value of a Kevin O'Connell game ball? I've also asked Sumo Brain for it, and I've included it in the response. It's on Twitter. I'm not copying it here.
I looked at it. Sumo Brain's response, I think, does answer the question kind of, but not in the direction I wanted it to. It basically just said it is valuable that Kevin O'Connell gives the game ball to JJ McCarthy when they win. And okay, but that's kind of boring. It very much seems like Danny Dimes is asking, the 14-yard line that tackled Danny Dimes is asking a causally impossible question that I want to rather entertain, which is, do you need to award game balls to JJ McCarthy in order to produce wins? Which, again, they are awarded after a game for a good reason, but I want to ignore that fact for now. And I think so. I think that if you choose not to give JJ McCarthy, at least this year, a game ball, wins will be taken, vacated, as if you had violated some NCAA rule or something. The wins will be vacated if you don't give him a game ball. And so the implications here, of course, are that you need to reserve one of your, and they give out a bunch of game balls, but one of your game balls for JJ McCarthy in the event that they win the game, so that later on down the line, when you got some tiebreakers on the line, you don't suddenly hear from the commissioner that you've had some wins vacated because you refused to give a game ball to JJ McCarthy after a win.
Yep. You want to avoid that if at all possible. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you end up in a weird tie situation like the Packers and the Cowboys have.
Yeah, good for them.
Longing for crippled Carson Wentz asks, why is JJ to JJ always at the outside edge, mostly too high, of the catch radius for our NFL wide receiver? Seems like all other wide receivers have been getting better placed balls mostly.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of it is because it is over the middle stuff, if I'm being honest. Obviously, these last two games, not a ton over the middle stuff. We just went over that. But I think you see a lot of the missed throws to to Jefferson, a lot of them over the middle. Now, some of them are to the right sideline. I think it's one or two to the left sideline on short throws, which are infuriating. But I think a lot of them are over the middle. And I think he's not throwing very well there for whatever reason right now. Other than that, I don't have a wonderful answer for you because I think you might be right, which is very stupid if you are. I will say he was missing guys left and right before the Washington game. And I don't think it was a particular unique quality of Jefferson that he was missing pretty high or just outside the catch radius. I think that was happening to everybody, but for some reason it's happening only to Jefferson right now, which again, during the squad show, someone mentioned this in the comments and I confirmed it. I looked it up on targets, not to Justin Jefferson this week. JJ McCarthy had a perfect passer rating, which is stupid. That's insane.
What an odd just problem to have.
Yeah. But that's where we're at.
JJ McDonald asks, do you think Brosmer getting to experience playing for KO as a first-year quarterback allowed him to provide feedback that contributed to the adjustments that O'Connell has made since JJ McCarthy has been back?
I like the question. I don't think it's the case, but I like that kind of thinking, right? Because it's it only happened after the Brosmer disaster. Sounds like a Dan Brown book, right? The Brosmer disaster. Or like some cheap thriller, sells only in paperbacks.
In airports.
I was just thinking in airports. The Brosmer catastrophe. After that, you kind of like reset what the offense looks like, and JJ McCarthy is playing good ball. It's an interesting trend to notice, and it feels notable. And Brosmer maybe being able to provide that feedback kind of lands at home, and I get why that's compelling. I just don't believe that. It is vibes based answer, I guess, but the quarterbacks do tend to, in the pre-game prep, have somewhat similar schedules outside of the actual practices. And someone like Brosmer is doing all the same prep and stuff like that. Maybe his in-game experience has given him a different context for what that prep does for him and looks like, and he brings that back. But I just think that O'Connell kind of came to his own conclusion that like McCarthy was just thinking too much stuff at once. But it's a good question, and I don't have a way to concretely answer it. Sorry, cemently answer it.
There you go. Let's go to 9-foot-tall Justin Jefferson. For Arif's height corner, JJ McCarthy can't seem to tell how tall Justin Jefferson is. Is this the proof that he is a Norse code / Arif follower, since he knows that Arif is 7 feet tall and hence has a distorted worldview of heights? Did Wentz not suffer this issue as Arif's Wentz hate made him stop listening?
Yes.
This yes was so prolonged it caused a sneeze.
Yeah.
You got an actual bodily reaction to that.
It did take a lot, especially because this suggests that Wentz was listening, and then too much. The final straw. Right? He was like, "All right, this is it. I'm done listening," and then he started dropping dimes to Jefferson.
Yeah. For Arif's elder abuse corner, with all the disguises and pre-snap motion that the Vikings defense runs, it seems like 36-year-old Harrison Smith is often the one backing from the line of scrimmage into deep zones or vice versa. Does a stat exist that tracks distance covered pre and post-snap per player, or is he number one?
I bet there is, and I spent 2 minutes seeing if I could find that out, and decided that if there was a way to find that out, it would take me an hour. So I did not look this up.
I mean, it's a legitimate answer. Delta BC Brad asks, if JJ continues to have great chemistry with Naylor and Addison, but not with Justin Jefferson, should we consider trading him for picks and sign Naylor? What would he be worth? 3 first-rounders? 2 firsts and a second? Fill out your corners. Get another wide receiver in the draft?
He's probably not worth 2 firsts and a second, and I hate saying that, but he does have a giant contract, and that's going to be part of it. I think he could be worth a first, a second, and then a player. How much was Hawkinson? I'm just trying to remember. Not that that's like comparable, but it might like ground me into something where like maybe I'm like way undervaluing him. We just do some live show research right now. Lions trade tight end TJ Hawkinson to NFC North rival Minnesota Vikings in stunning trade. A second and a third. And you get 4th and a 4th and Hawkinson. Okay. If the Vikings win a playoff game, it becomes a 5th round. Okay, well, don't worry about that. Yeah, a first and a second sounds correct then, with maybe a player or a conditional attached to it. Yeah, and that feels bad. So no, I think you just got to figure this out. You just have to figure it out. Justin Jefferson has figured out how to be productive with Nick Mullins, kind of Joshua Dobbs, Kirk Cousins, Sam Darnold, Carson Wentz. You just gotta figure it out.
Next question is from Nolan Kaler, who asks, back in 2020, when the Packers drafted Jordan Love, Arif asserted that Aaron Jones might be a better back than Dalvin Cook. Now that we've seen Aaron Jones in a Vikings uniform, how does that claim stack up?
So I don't remotely recall making this claim in the proud tradition of the show. But I did look this up. Not whether or not I made it. I'm just taking it on faith that I made the claim. But I did look this up. And in addition to the fact that, both these guys come from the same draft class, you've got the same numbers in the league, number of years in the league. Not only does Aaron Jones have more total snaps, more rushing attempts, more targets, more rushing yards, more receiving yards per route run, more yards per carry. But also he does have higher EPA per play, fewer fumbles per carry. The one area where Dalvin Cook seems to be kind of outdoing on like a career basis, Aaron Jones seems to be in forced missed tackles per carry. And it's not by much. And Aaron Jones does beat him in yards after contact per attempt, and also like total yards after contact. He has more 10 plus yard runs, although I believe as a percentage, Dalvin Cook has more. So you can give that one. But in terms of breakaway percentage, which is the percentage of yards that come on 15 plus yard runs, that is another area where Dalvin Cook wins a little bit. But it feels like it was super right about that if I said it.
Whether or not you actually said it is up for debate.
Well, I mean, I think we can trust Nolan here.
You don't often say that about Canadians, so that is a high compliment.
Yeah, I said here, like in this specific instance. But I definitely don't often say this about Canadians.
EJ Hartman asks, for Reef's Bo Nix isn't good corner. Is Bo Nix actually good?
Whoa, EJ, calm down.
He looked like he'd been trying to throw picks all day. In the second half, rather. There were some moments.
He looked like he was cooking, which can happen sometimes. Sometimes, a guy cooks. Sometimes a guy who has fake production ends up cooking with real production. And that happens sometimes. Sometimes, you're running a mile and you fall flat on your face. It just happens. You got to pick yourself up. So this is the opposite of whatever it is that I just described. I would know he's not good. He's not good. He's not actually good. He had a good game where he did the stuff that a good quarterback typically does. So it's what happened.
Winstonian asks, for Reef's game theory corner, why are teams so hesitant to go for a 2-point conversion that would put them up 9 late in games? If they fail to convert, they're still up 7. But I think a full 2-score advantage would be worth the loss of not having the other team have to convert to tie. What do the numbers say about the 2-point conversion percentage when down 2 in the last 4 minutes of the game? What does Sumer Brain think?
Right,
and
so
there's another picture of that stupid avatar of a Thora Birch from American Beauty mixed with The Craft.
Mm-hmm. So I asked her.
Yeah.
I did add NFL to the question. So why are NFL teams so hesitant? Just so, she had a good understanding that she was answering an NFL question. She says, it's a good point. Going for 2 can give you a cushion, but coaches might be hesitant due to a fear of failing and giving the opposing team momentum. So Sumer Brain, believer in momentum. Well, believer that coaches believe in momentum, which is fair. According to data, just data. Okay. NFL teams succeed on 2-point conversions around 48% of the time in general, but I couldn't find specific numbers for when down 2 in the last 4 minutes of a game. So Sumer Brain, the companion bot, a little bit less robust than Sumer Brain, the Sumer Sports product. They probably would have had those. I don't know if those numbers would have been accurate, as we will find out in a second. But I would say that your instinct here is correct. It feels right to me. I haven't mathed it out, but I think that it is a 1-possession game in the event that you lose the 2-point conversion in a 2-possession game. And opponents play 1-possession games like the possession. right? So, and by that I mean, if it's a 7-point game, they will play to score 7 points most of the time. There were a couple of unique instances this year. I think the Raiders actually did it once of all teams, where they will play for 8, but they almost always play for 7. And obviously, if it's an 8-point game, they play for 8 points. God, this reminds me of was it against the Saints? I think it was the Saints. I asked Kirk Cousins why they were taking so effing long on one of their drives against the Saints when they were down 24 points. I was like, hey man, did you think that was a 3-possession game? And I said it more politely than that. And he's like, well, 8 points plus 8 points plus 8 points, that's 3 possessions. And I lost my mind because like the idea that you can treat your time management as if there are only 3 possessions, because it is possible to do that in 3, because it was like a 7-minute drive. I was so bad. So teams will treat 8-point games like 1-possession games. So I think that this is correct to make it a 2-point game, because that the opponent will respond as if it's a 1-possession game if you go up 8 as opposed to go up 9 or go up 7. So I think that this is correct. I don't know what the numbers say. I don't know if conversion rate changes in the final 4 minutes of a game or something like that. But I think that if you score a touchdown to get 6 points, and because of that, and you were already up by 1, go up 7, you should go for 2. I agree for sure.
Next question is from VH Cadet, who asks, for Arif's minority owner of the Seahawks corner, will Arif be in the owner's box for the first Seattle playoff game, and is he bringing James?
Okay, so we have some bit contamination here. Happens from time to time. You just have to call it out when you see it. No one's at fault except VH Cadet. The bit has never been that I'm a minority owner of the Seahawks. The bit is that I'm a minority owner of the Kansas City Chiefs because I put that in my Twitter bio so that I could win stupid arguments. It worked, by the way. The Seahawks portion of the bit, where this is contaminated from, alleges that I'm a Seahawks fan. Now, I'm not a Seahawks fan, but the bit kind of demands an acknowledgement of that possible universe where I might be. And so this is bit contamination here. So, no, I have taken James up to the owner's booth for many of the Chiefs playoff games. For whatever reason, the Super Bowl owner's suite, they say it's too full. So I've only been able to attend the Super Bowl as press and never as a Chiefs owner. I don't know what that's about. That feels weird. I feel like that they should let me into the owner's box.
You should definitely look into that.
Yeah. Maybe I should purchase more ownership shares or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Private equity is probably a good thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Also from VH Cadet, is JJ McCarthy demonstrating he can throw to the left just to make sure Bears fans can't troll Arif over his very accurate criticism of Mitch Trubisky's ability to throw to the left?
I think that when he is throwing to the left, he is thinking this is for Arif. I think actually he like part of O'Connell getting McCarthy to stop overthinking is like him sitting McCarthy down and being like, hey, when you throw to the left and you're thinking of Arif Hassan, you can't also be thinking of the mechanics. So get rid of that mechanic stuff so that you can devote that brain space to saying, hey, I dedicate this throw to the left to Arif Hassan. I think that's what's happening for sure.
Because he's thinking about you while he's throwing. That leg is going in weird directions.
It's going in weird places, which not an uncommon problem when people think of me.
That's we're gonna just ignore that one. The Village Yakmonger asks, as the blood sacrifices mount to prop up 9, how many more ACLs are needed to maintain this level of performance?
This was a crazy week.
This was not great. This was the late afternoon and into evening had many injuries that are going to be notable.
Yeah, so the two that people are paying the most attention to, I've already forgotten one of them actually. One of them is Micah Parsons, which like, good Lord, right?
Yeah. Micah Parsons, the two big ones, Micah Parsons and our quarterback in Kansas City. Your quarterback in Kansas City.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah.
The guy that you are a minority owner.
Yeah, I remember him for sure. Dylan Raiola, that's his name? I'm sure I got it right. But we also did get a couple of other injuries of the knee variety. Cody Simon, Teddy Buchanan, Amaris Mims. Zach Tom, I believe, had a pretty serious one. He was ruled out pretty early. So he's another Packers. The Packers suffered a lot. So you had Micah Parsons with the torn ACL, Zach Tom with a knee, Evan Williams with a knee, Christian Watson with a chest, which it's Christian Watson, right? Mahomes with the torn ACL, Jalen Moore with a knee, Isaiah Oliver with a knee. A lot of stuff happened. Abraham Lucas had an injury. He often does. And then Devontae Adams had a hamstring injury. It sounds like that one's not as serious. He didn't return to the game, but it sounds like that one is not season ending or anything like that. There's a lot of injuries this week and two pretty big ones.
So the answer is more. We are going to need more.
For sure. Yeah.
A second jet has hit Drew Bledsoe, asks, for Arif's logical line of thought corner.
Don't like this.
Since 2022, Dan Campbell is 12-0 in regular season games where he has lost the game prior. This season, the Lions have not won consecutive games since week 4 and 5, and 5 times this season have gone loss-win in 2-game stretches. Is Dan Campbell's ability to stave off back-to-back losses, that's good, come with a terrible curse, that's bad? Has he doomed himself to not win two consecutive games? Should he consult with Kevin O'Connell on how to deal with objects and or entities whose power is from beyond this mortal plane? I'm going to include or begin to eat more Frogurt.
That's bad.
The toppings contain potassium.
No, he has not doomed himself to not win 2 consecutive games. I don't think there is a curse. I don't think there's a correlative curse here. I don't think it contains radon. I think it's just a bad injury prone team, relatively speaking. And he's able to leverage this gift. If I am wrong, I would not want him to consult KOC to figure out how to deal with entities beyond this mortal plane. Both because I don't want KOC to give information away, but also like I'm not confident that would be good for the Lions. Like, are we confident that the Vikings like management of Magics is like top of the league or anything like that? That feels not true to me.
Why would you give that information in division?
Yeah, it would be like trading the 12th overall pick to your division rival or something.
Yeah, don't do that. Bridge over Teddy Water asks, with injuries to Mahomes, Parsons, Tunsil, and Devontae by 6 p.m., is this the most injury to salary ratio day ever?
So I asked Sumer Brain, and she said she gave me 2 different weeks. One was 2019. I forget which week it was. I've closed out of that window. But she listed Adam Thielen and Matt Ryan and Blair Walsh. And I was like, that can't be right. And I looked it up, and Blair Walsh, it turns out, was not playing in 2019. And it turns out Matt Ryan was not injured in that week. And so she also listed a 2017, which was week 15 or something like that, maybe 2017. She listed a couple, like Deebo Samuel, Richard Sherman, and like one other. And none of them were injured that week. So then I asked Sumer Brain, the Sumer Sports product, and it refused to give me any answers that weren't from 2025, which despite several attempts to get them to be like, hey, I'm not asking for this. I'm asking for like other seasons of injury. And they were like, well, week 4 is pretty injurious. Do you want to learn more about week 4 of 2025? And I was like, no, I don't. So James has an answer. I've done my research. James has an answer.
I'd done a little bit of looking, and the best thing I was able to come up with was week 2 in 2020, which was particularly ridiculous. In addition to like everything happened. Like all of the injuries happened to the 49ers that particular week.
Yeah, it was like Nick Bosa and someone else on Solomon Thomas.
Solomon Thomas ended up getting it. D Ford also got a back injury.
Jesus, the entire defensive line.
It wasn't great, but when you started to look at the injuries piling up for week 2 in 2020, like we got Tavon Young with an ACL. We had Christian McCaffrey go out for a good period of time there.
Jeez.
CJ Uzma for the Bengals had a torn Achilles. The DeMarcus Lawrence went out for
God.
just about the whole for the whole season too. Second year quarterback Drew Lock left the game with a shoulder, which later led to the COVID issue where they didn't have a quarterback. So there was that, but like it keeps going because we had like Devontae Adams, we had Justin Blackmon. My favorite one here, however, is the note under Los Angeles Chargers. The quote from sharpfootballanalysis.com, presumably to assist bettors. Perhaps the oddest injury of the week goes to Tyrod Taylor, who was scratched minutes before kickoff due to a chest injury that stemmed from a pre-game injection. Rookie Justin Herbert stepped in and played well. But apparently Anthony Lynn wasn't impressed, and Taylor will be the starter should he be healthy to start week 3. He was not.
He got fully stabbed in the chest by a Chargers doctor, and not even
deflated lung, if I remember correctly.
Correct. I believe it's a TJ Watt injury too, right?
Yeah.
Same mechanism. Someone stabbed him. That is maybe a bad faith way to discuss a medical procedure, like, oh yeah, surgery. Where you slice him open.
Yeah.
But Taylor did have to be hospitalized after the chest stabbing, and again, it was by the former Chargers doctor, who isn't even the one that has been subject to multiple investigations from the federal government for malpractice and I believe drug violations. Anyway,
there were drug violations, yeah.
Yeah. Which, he writes injury content for fantasy football sites now. So don't worry about it. It's all good. No, different doctor stabbed him from the Chargers.
Also from this list included Cam Akers, who was a rookie that year. Richie Incognito.
Couldn't happen to a better guy.
Danielle Hunter went on IR, and then Anthony Barr joined him with the pectoral injury. Yeah. So
rough.
And Saquon Barkley was an ACL.
Jesus.
This wasn't great. This particular week was particularly rough. I'm literally just seeing if I missed anyone of note. I think that's it. Yeah. Week 2, 2020. Famous. Not great. The Gaming Nerd asks, with the Vikings officially eliminated from the playoffs, we can now look to the 2026 season and the rumors that Joe Burrow no longer wants to be a Bengal. If the Bengals packaged up Joe Burrow, their first round pick for 2026 and 2027, do you think that would be enough for the generational talented rookie legend, Will Reichard, or should the Bengals include more in the trade to secure this special team's talent?
I mean, I think they should probably trade Evan McPherson back. Like that, I think that's James. That's how you deleted Evan McPherson back. But otherwise, I mean that's probably fair compensation, right? You get Joe Burrow, you get a first round pick for 26, you get a first round pick for 27, and you lose the greatest kicker in the NFL, and that's roughly equivalent. But you got to get the kicker back. You got to get Evan McPherson back.
I think Burrow could be a solid backup for McCarthy.
Yeah, for sure. Well, he's a veteran. He's kind of like a Josh Johnson type. Burrow's only played in the one offense, but has the ability. It's a Zach Robinson offense, which is a McVay offense. Has some like cross applicability. Has some ability to like kind of teach McCarthy how to go through game day preparation. A live arm. That's ready in case McCarthy suffers another injury. Great backup.
Yeah. I suppose I'll answer this. Sam Darnett asks for Reef's Little Rock 9 corner.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, we are off the rails now.
Are we?
You can just turn it off now. What did James mean by his recent Discord comment? Jerry Jones was always right. Now, I want to be perfectly clear.
This is a Reef's corner, so a Reef is going to answer. James meant that he is the closest thing the show has to a Republican, and he strongly approved of Jerry Jones's appearance protesting the integration of the Little Rock School.
That's not how any of this works.
Oh, okay. No, you're right. Actually, it wasn't actually the Little Rock. So Jerry Jones protest Little Rock. It was like North Little Rock. It was a different. North Little Rock. So sorry, my mistake. You're right to correct me there.
Being technically correct is the best kind of correct. We have shown this so many times on the show. And in the spirit of that, here's what I actually said. I was doing the whole blah was right about everything trope. Mm-hmm. And I had said that immediately after Micah Parsons went down with the injury.
Oh, that's a good thing to let people know. That's how you responded to Micah Parsons' injury. That's good.
Well, originally it was Micah Parsons is down. Repeat, Micah Parsons is down. Because it was just after Mahomes went down where I had said something similar. And we were trying to debate whether or not that was like, because Micah Parsons went down in kind of like an odd way. So it was a question of, is this an ACL? Is this like, is this something like different inside of the actual knee itself? No, that's an ACL. So anyway, it just turns out that Jerry Jones was playing like 30D chess this whole time with the Micah Parsons thing. Like he as you've long said, James, he has the gift of foresight. Yeah, he just can't use it for good. He just can't use it for his personal football game, it turns out. The logic dump asks, is for the quote, is a giraffe always taunting people corner? Is if standing above someone is classified as taunting, what does that mean for our 7-foot podcast host Arif, who is naturally always taunting when speaking to them?
Well, this is one reason I'm against taunting penalties in the NFL, right? So we did have a moment in the Monday Night Football game where a critical third down from Miami, I think it was Jordan Brooks, stopped someone just short of the line to gain, and kind of just stood there flexing, not even... I hate to even have to specify, not even at the player he just tackled, but I do have to specify he was still facing the direction he was when he made the tackle, which was in the general direction of the player who was on the ground as a product of having been tackled. And he just kind of stands there, not looking at the player, just kind of broadly celebrating the fact that he made a critical play. The player gets up, they start jawing, and then later a flag is thrown for unsportsmanlike conduct. We are informed that Jordan Brooks, if he gets another one, will be ejected from the game. And Troy Aikman asks their rules analyst about this. And the rules analyst is like, well, it was a point of emphasis at the beginning of the year that standing over people. And Troy was like, that sucks. I hate that. We should not have that. He went hard. And he was right to.
As he's getting older, he is getting a little bit more bold in some of these opinions. I'm appreciating it.
Yeah, he's like, these are evil people, right? Right? Like, he's like, these the guys who made that rule are not going to see the kingdom of God. And you're like, Troy? What? So that's one reason I'm against the taunting rule, I guess is what I'm saying. So on this one specific issue, very, very narrowly defined, Troy Aikman and I are on the same side.
Troy Aikman was always right. Timothy asks, for the show's politically unconscious corner, is all the talk of pure progression, in fact, an unconscious manifestation of currents of fascism and its obsession with racial/cultural purity? I think that's obvious.
What is it? What?
I just wanted to say that.
I would say no, because purity politics exist outside of the context of racial or cultural purity, although I would always be suspicious of any political movement that tends towards aesthetic ordering and notions of purity. But there is some level of political maneuvering that people will call purity testing. That is necessary for any political movement, righteous or otherwise, to survive, because your ideology needs to exist at some level and stand for something in order for it to have an effect. So in the context of progression, I would say that the tendency towards pureness in progression is a negative, but it is not necessarily fascistic, because it doesn't create order, which is the necessary aesthetic requirement within the aesthetics of fascism to constitute something fascistic. So I would not argue that pure progression is an ordered system. It is in fact a chaotic system. It also happens to coincidentally be not a very good system for what the Vikings are apparently trying to do. So I would say no, but great question, kind of.
Kind of. If you find yourself debating whether or not an organization is somebody that you should follow, ask if they ask their members to tattoo some form of percent on themselves. That's usually a good sign.
That's a great sign. Yeah. That'll tell you a lot.
Yeah. Room Temperature asks, for James's relationship corner, how do I convince my friend's girlfriend I would be better for them?
What?
Because their relationship has conflicting sports fandoms. How conflicting are we talking? Like Ravens Steelers conflicting? Or like how bad are we talking? Minnesota Green Bay?
I can't.
I've made that work. I made that work for 5 years.
I've made that not work for 2 years. I would say there are too many Minnesota Green Bay relationships, right? Just way too many Packers Vikings couples for that to be an area where you could sufficiently argue that there could be some kind of discordance. Auburn, Alabama, on the other hand, I feel like you could make a great argument. So it really does kind of depend, like James said, on the rivalry. Ravens Steelers, I'm having trouble seeing a relationship there that works, but I don't know enough about Rust Belt rivalries to say a lot there. Patriots,
all I know about are the games, and those have a history.
Yeah. And I think that's why, like, it feels like that's probably not going to work. Patriots Jets, I feel like shouldn't work ethically. I'm guessing there are more Patriots Jets couples than there should be. And then sometimes rivalries do the opposite. Patriots Dolphins rivalries, they're actually a natural ally because of how many Patriots fans retire to become Miami residents. So that one I don't think is going to be an effective persuasive argument. I'm really curious about Ohio, Michigan State, because obviously as a rivalry, that one's really heated. It's intense. It's so intense. It's pretty stupid, which is always a good sign of a rivalry. But it doesn't feel like that one's a relationship ender like Auburn, Alabama is, right? Like, I don't know how else to put it. That doesn't.
No, Auburn, Alabama has involved like the murdering of a tree.
Yeah. And not even an investigation. Like the guy went on radio and was like, look at this awesome thing that I did.
Yep. Roll Tide. And even the guy on the radio was like, you're sick.
That is a lot. There are other SEC rivalries that I just don't know the contours of, but like I feel like Alabama LSU is toxic. Florida Tennessee is a rivalry, right? I feel like that's a rivalry. That one feels bad, so depends on it. But this, I would say that the fact of a rivalry being incompatible and the ability to kind of leverage that into changing, intervening in a relationship, stealing someone's girlfriend, I guess is the best way to put that. I would maybe kind of steer clear of that one. This is James's corner, so.
Well, if we're talking about rivalries in college sports, I would just like to say, since the game is on Saturday between JMU, our Dukes, and the Oregon Ducks, college football national championships since 2000, Oregon 0. JMU 2. Just want to put that out there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Thank you, JMU Sports News, for consistently being just such an amazing follow this week.
It's an incredible follow this week. And I think they were being generous to Oregon there because they didn't even include the fact that one of those years JMU wasn't even eligible because of arcane rules about advancement to the FBS. So
yeah, this is if you are still on the Twitter, check out JMU Sports News.
They have been on one for like 2 weeks now.
It has been so freaking great. I have truly enjoyed their feed. All right. Next, also from Room Temperature, for James's Feed Me More Ham corner. We didn't even talk about the CJ Ham touchdown here. Well, we'll talk about two things here in a second. A concerning number of people on the Discord have not seen CJ Ham score a touchdown in person. How can we rectify this? Obviously, more Ham touchdowns.
Yeah, that's the only way to resolve the lack of Ham touchdown experiencers. Is to kind of create as many opportunities as possible for people to have that wonderful moment in their life.
Yes, we all need more CJ Ham. He's a lovely human being. Before we get to the next question, I do want to mention that the Peyton Manning bootleg was run by JJ McCarthy hilariously successfully to the point where the all 22 camera almost missed JJ McCarthy going into the touchdown.
That was crazy. I loved that.
Exact same play against the same team. Beautiful.
Outstanding. I guess Joe Flacco did it too pretty recently. Actually, I do remember him doing it recently. So yeah, a lot of homages to Peyton Manning's insane play action rushing touchdown.
Yep, we're doing this on a Sunday night, prime time. We're doing it live. Deez asks, for Arif's reality TV corner, I know you watched America's Next Top Model in the early seasons, so I'm curious your thoughts on Tyra's iconic blow-up on Tiffany in Cycle 4. Whose side are you on there? Also, were you impressed by Mia's growth throughout as the eventual winner? So I told Arif before, I do think it's hilarious that, I suppose during my first engagement, back when I was living in St. Paul, this was on a lot. My girlfriend at the time used to watch this a lot, so I actually knew what was being discussed here, and I hated that for myself.
Yeah, so I was, this era of time, I was a Top Chef guy. Like I don't, and a little bit of Kid Nation.
Well, the Kid Nation thing never really left.
It never left. I've read multiple books by people who went to Kid Nation. I have too many Kid Nation facts, but Top Chef was my jam. I did watch a little bit of what's the Bravo show with James Gunn? That's the fashion show. Because that was on America's Next Top Model. It's for the designers or whatever it was.
That wasn't Queer Eye.
No. It's like a designer fashion show. Anyway, something Runway maybe. I don't know.
Project Runway.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I did watch a little bit of that. But I never watched America's Next Top Model. So I watched this clip to prepare for the show because I take the show notes seriously, and then I read 2 Reddit threads on this. One I didn't even plan on this. One pro and one anti. Relatively pro for Tyra. So for people who are unfamiliar, the GIF, sometimes video that you see, how could you do this? We were rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. Tyra Banks yelling at someone is what is happening here. And so apparently Tiffany did not make it to, they call them cycles instead of seasons, did not make it onto cycle 3 after failing a psych eval. I think this is crazy that we know this, by the way. Failing a psych eval and something else. And so Tyra liked her a lot, I guess, and considered her like a diamond in the rough and like, had a lot of potential or whatever. And so I guess paid for her anger management And so through that qualified for cycle 4 or something. And I guess also on top of that, this is like one of those, do you remember like all of those like Upworthy stories that were like, kid's father suffers horrible accident and needs to pay $40,000 hip surgery bill. Kid sells lemonade to get there, and everyone's like, this is good, I'm happy.
Of course.
Yeah, so it felt like that when I was reading this, where I guess Tiffany's grandmother didn't sacrificed a month of having electricity to pay for a swimsuit for Tiffany for one of the episodes or for something related to the show, right? Which like the show like makes enough money, right? Like I feel like if the deal is that you have all these people that are gorgeous and their job is to show off clothes so that people think that they will also be gorgeous in clothes, that you would supply the clothes. I don't know, whatever. So it is very stressful being on a reality show, being a model, having to deal with Tyra Banks, very stressful. And it can be dispiriting and it can destroy your morale. And a bunch of people are having a really bad time. And it sounds like Tiffany was having a really, really difficult time and had been going through a fair amount of things and was like tired and exhausted and was still, I guess, again, this is all based off of 2 Reddit threads, was still doing kind of like the model stuff. And by that, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that is directly related to the job and a bunch of stuff that is like indirectly related to the job and or stuff for a reality show, right? So my understanding is that she's still doing the model stuff, but she's not like showing up with enthusiasm at panels and has like a bad attitude or something like that. And after she gets eliminated because of this stuff, I guess, Tyra Banks goes off and mentions paying for anger management, which like everything else aside, that's kind of rude. Like I just feel like if you do something for someone, it's like insane narcissistic behavior to then use that fact against them.
Tyra was just trying to win their friendship.
Yeah, sure. And then also brought up the grandmother sacrificing a month of electricity, which again, Tyra, you can fix that, right? Like you have the ability to fix that. But like, you're betraying your grandmother by not putting in your full effort or whatever. And then so that's when she says that I think that it is fair to be frustrated, even if you, or maybe it feels unfair given the amount of stress that they're under and how like that is kind of the job, right? Like you do have to, it is literally emotional labor in the original definition of the word, where you have to put on a particular face or emotion for labor purposes. Like, being asked to smile at customer service or to create a certain aura or whatever with whatever it is you're modeling. That is emotional labor. It's very tiring. And so you can empathize with that, but also understand that is the job and you can be frustrated with it. But calling someone out after they've lost their dream job and yelling at them in front of everybody they know and their friends already is bad. But then it's on national television for millions of people. And this is obviously kind of an unintended consequence, it's a viral meme now. I think I'm on Tiffany's side. That's effed up. Don't do that.
Yeah. Let's finish this up. From I Hate Carmel, Indiana, for Arif and James's perpetual underachievement corner.
Okay.
Despite Carmel, Indiana having a, quote, world-class Christkindl market, the demographic makeup of a Hallmark Christmas movie,
white people,
and a lack of any real businesses besides Christmas tree farms. Where does missing the top 10 cities where a Christmas movie would take place rank in terms of complete competitive implosion? If my community suffered such a loss, I would immediately petition to become an unincorporated place in the county post haste. Does Carmel have the stones to do the same? And included a link to the Hallmark movie Hots page. I have to say that between this and 50 Cent, you are getting shamed in the hater category.
Yeah, I am losing my fastball hater wise. I had a couple of moments on Sunday where I could have unloaded some truly heinous hate and then decided not to tweet. And you know that a 32-year-old Arif wouldn't have done that.
Nope. 32 Arif wouldn't even had the thought because he was already going to be in Twitter jail.
Yeah, right. Yeah. God, remember Twitter jail? Better time. So Action Network, it sounds like tried to do a regression because these are weighted categories, but I don't know if they did it against actual Hallmark towns. Like, I don't know. But they tried to figure out the best Hallmark town in every state. And the 4 categories that they used were population size. And it sounds like the smaller the better. I don't know. But they limited it to 50,000 people. So it has to be big enough for a real main street. So it has to have at least 3,000 people. And it has to have fewer than 50,000 people. Then they also did small business density. So more small businesses, the more likely you are, because they lean on independent bakeries, bookstores, gift shops, cafes, craft stores, tree farms. That's in the thing. So you need like a main street energy, right? They need to have historic places, so at least one historic landmark. And then they divided it per 1,000 residents. So there's a per capita historic place. I don't know how they defined it. But I'm guessing there's like, here it is, National Register of Historic Places and the National Park Service. So they do historic place counts. And then also December snowfall. So if you have more snowfall, the better, which I think is actually flawed here. I think there's an ideal middle amount of snowfall you want. And I think having the snowfall of like Bangor, Maine is bad actually for Hallmark stuff because you can't get around. That's important. But yeah, so they invented a Hallmark-like location metric for each state. I think that this sucks based off of my knowledge of some of the selections. Fairbanks, Alaska, that sounds actually like a stupid one. Burlington, Vermont, amazing pick. That's perfect. What other one did I? Oh yeah. Kalispell, Montana. That makes sense. Minot, North Dakota. That makes no sense at all. But the one that made the least amount of sense to me was Hopkins, Minnesota. That's just a suburb. That's not. What are you doing? That's in Hennepin County. Like that. You can't like. What are we doing? Annapolis? No. Newark.
No romance happens in Minot, North Dakota.
Absolutely not. A lot of things that simulate romance, for sure, but famously, right?
I'll be a resident North Dakota hater. Just no love. There is no love in Minot. I know people in Minot. There is no love there.
Yeah. So it is a strange, but it is funny that Carmel, Indiana, didn't even get within 2 hours of because it's Valparaiso, Indiana that got it right. 2.5 hours away from Carmel, Indiana. Yeah, I looked it up. Not even close. And so Indiana didn't get into the top 10. The top 10 is Puyallup, Washington. I don't know how to pronounce that, so there you go. Farmington, Michigan. Poughkeepsie, New York. Price, Utah, which, by the way, has the largest historic places per 1,000 number I've ever seen, which probably doesn't say much because I haven't seen this number before, but 42? Everyone else is at like 2.9 or 0.12. They have 42 historic places per 1,000 people. Like, I don't know what that's crazy. Naples, Florida, because I had to pick one for each state, right? Bangor, Maine, Burlington, Vermont, Fairbanks, Alaska, Littleton, Colorado, and York, Pennsylvania. So that's the top 10. Strange approach here. Katy, Texas. Again, they have to pick one in each state, but Katy, Texas, I don't know. Weird. But yeah, another L for Carmel, Indiana, from identified by true hater. I hate Carmel, Indiana.
Just some real hatred happening. We actually do have one more. I missed it in the show notes. This isn't even me like tricking you like, hey, I have an anti-Arif one or something. No, I don't. This is from Matt, who asks, question for James's classic literature in movies corner. Last episode, when James described his current viewing habits as alternating between Michael Caine and Tim Curry movies and whatever Christmas movie happened to be on at the moment, this has led me to conclude that James has alternately been binging The Muppet Christmas Carol and Muppet Treasure Island. I think some more variety would be welcome, and was wondering what 19th century serialized classic work of British literature does James think would be the best addition to the Muppet canon?
Astounding question.
I would just like to say, before we go further, I have been a big believer that the next, if you were going to redo a movie with Muppets where there was like one person who was human, I do believe that it should be 7. I have said it before. I think 7 would be fantastic for it, but I have changed my opinion slightly after rewatching a movie recently. So I think that you could do that, or you could do Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, but the little kid is the human. You only see him briefly, but I feel like that would end up being the best, the other good choice. So I feel like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels,
Or 7.
or 7. I don't even know who you have as the human there, Brad Pitt. Like, no. You know what?
No, Kermit is playing Brad Pitt's role for sure.
Kermit is absolutely playing Brad Pitt. Morgan Freeman is the only human in that movie.
Oh, that could be Sam the Eagle, though.
It could be, but
this is we'll figure this out later, but there's a lot of opportunities.
Gwyneth Paltrow is the only human.
There we go. Perfect. Yeah.
I just want Kermit to scream what's in the box.
Does that make Miss Piggy gluttony? I think we're going too deep.
This is obviously going too far. As for the question, does Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde count?
Yes.
I feel like that could at least be interesting. But I admit, I want to say for the record, I have not been bouncing between only those two movies, but I did watch this weekend. I did watch the Knives Out movie. Which, shout out to Skimbleshanks the Railway Cat. And if you don't know why, watch the movie. Congratulations on your cameo. And with that is going to be the end of this episode of Norse Code. We hope you have enjoyed it. Arif, what do you have to plug?
Over at Wide Left, I got my most recent piece up. It did take actually a little bit of time. About J.J. McCarthy's day against the Cowboys and what we might have learned from it. I go into more detail about the stuff that we talked about here. We're starting to get scouting reports put up. So we've got our first scouting report of the declaration season. Kedrick Falk, who a lot of people thought of as a top 15 edge rusher, or a top 15 player in the class. He's an edge rusher. We're going to get Matt Freese writing another piece on the relevance of bad defenses in quarterback evaluation. So we've got a couple of things coming up over at Wide Left. Pretty happy about it.
That is going to be it for this episode of Norse Code. We hope you guys have enjoyed it. We will be back later this week to preview the Giants game. So for Arif, my name is James. Thank you guys so much for listening. And please remember that you never want to go double Ngakwe or put Trust AI really, or Replica Pro, or whatever the hell that you did.
I did not spring for Replica Pro. They tried real hard.
Yeah.
At first, I thought
that.
you could only get Replica Pro. I was like, I thought there was a free version, but no, you have to like cancel out in order to like. They make it seem like registering you have to pay. Very weird situation.
A man once said, "Sometimes I think the internet wasn't worth it." Tonight is one of those nights, and we'll see you later this week.
Norse Code is the largest and only division of Norse Code LLC. You can find Norse Code on the Daily Norseman, SB Nation's Vikings blog at dailynorseman.com. You can also find it on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, and wherever fine podcasts are aggregated. Our Vikings blogger extraordinaire and generally useful human is Arif Hassan of... and he can be found on Twitter at Arif Hassan NFL. I'm your producer and host, and my name is James Pagashnik. You can find me at the show's official Twitter feed at NorseCodeDN or at my personal account at Big Mono. If you'd like to donate a few bucks to the show, you can do so in a couple of different ways. You can go to patreon.com/NorseCode and donate there. For $3.50 a month, you get bonus material and more. You can also go to paypal.me/NorseCode for a one-time donation, or you can go to norsecode.threadless.com and pick up some Norse Code merch. Any questions or comments that cannot fit in a tweet can be sent to norsecodepodcast@gmail.com. On behalf of the Norse Code staff, we thank you so much for listening.
Our formula is this.
Hey, all things are possible through the power of Ben DiNucci.